All right, I thought I'd go over some Citrangequats and some potentials for some new Citrangequats. Um, right now, this is probably your best bet as far as cold hardiness and taste go. You're looking at three of the most common. This one's Thomasville. Not the best example of some of these. I've had them in the refrigerator all winter, but I thought I'd go ahead and do a video before they completely ruined. This is Thomasville, and then we've also got Sinton and Augusta Citrangequat. Now you'll see Augusta's probably the biggest, even on average. So those are those three, and then we'll also talk about two zygotic, which means you can come up with new hybrids, kumquats. This is Marumi kumquat and Nagami kumquat. All right, we'll cut the end of these and do a taste test of this. This is Augusta. Let's see. We'll cut it this way. I'll slice around it and try to save some of the seeds there. Do a little twist. Help release some of that. All right. That is Augusta Citrangequat. And they can have a good many seeds. All right, we'll take a little slice out of this and we'll talk about how this one tastes. Really, really good. I mean, it's tart and it's got just an ever slight taste of the trifoliate in it. So this one is first. It grew out at Arboretum in Florida. Tom McClendon picked it up, brought it to a friend. He grew it out, and as far as I know, he was the first one that got fruit off of it, and that was in Augusta, so that's hence the name. And really, really good fruit. Even with the skin is tender and pretty sweet. But it is a slight, super slight trifoliate. Honestly, I don't taste it in this as much as I did earlier in the season when they're a little greener. Sometimes if they sit in the refrigerator all year, they tend to mellow out a little bit. I wouldn't say they ripen in the refrigerator, but they do kind of mellow. Really good. And you can peel them. They're not too hard to peel. So yeah, and they are a little tart, but they still, I mean, it's kind of like a tart mandarin. It's really not bad at all. And that's Augusta Citrangequat. I'd say that's probably good to around 10 degrees. Cold hardiness. Really attractive tree. Probably more attractive than a Thomasville tree is, but probably not quite as cold hardy. Thomasville may be good down to 5 or 7 degrees. Augusta Citrange is probably good to 10 degrees, but a better, more attractive tree, from what I've been told. All right, so that one is Augusta. Let me slide these to the side so we don't lose those, because we will be planting those out. Hopefully we get some of my own Augusta Citrangequats, because currently there's no sources for actual plants. Madison Citrus has tons of different kind. Augusta is not one of them he's got on his website right now, but I've heard that he should be adding that in the future. All right, so we'll look at Thomasville. We'll compare it to Augusta Citrangequat. And you'll see Thomasville has no seeds in this one, or not as we can see right now. So that's one good thing about Thomasville. And Thomasville is probably slightly better tasting, but let's see this. Sometimes in between fruit, from one fruit to the next, you'll get variations. And yeah, this one has more of a lime taste, and it's been described as lime-like. Definitely more of a lime taste. Augusta is definitely a lot more mandarin flavored. Yeah, very lime-like. Thomasville, really good one. And you can't eat it green because it does not ripen before Thanksgiving. It is pretty good by Thanksgiving. That's generally when we in Zone 8 have a good hard freeze. But about that time, you can pick it green and eat it as a lime, which is really good fruit. Augusta Citrangequat ripens earlier, which is a benefit of it. It's probably fully ripe by Thanksgiving. In Thomasville, the skin's a little tougher as well than Augusta. I would say the skin itself is, and maybe just because it hasn't ripened yet. In Zone 8, we're not going to get it to ripen, not without protection, a heavy protection, but Augusta will ripen by Thanksgiving. So that's a benefit of Augusta over Thomasville. However, Thomasville is a little bit colder, hardy, and fewer seeds. But yeah, Augusta does have a lot better skin, even though it does have a slightish trifoliate taste. All right, and we'll look at Sinton. Obviously a smaller fruit. I don't know about the quality of this one. It does seem like it may have dried out some, but we'll go ahead. Yeah, this one's kind of dried out, but that's Sinton. And these actually peel really easy, even though they're tiny. Yeah, this one's dried out, so not the best example, but nonetheless. It's pretty good tasting. We'll go ahead and peel it and kind of see. And also the skin on it is probably not as edible as Augusta. Little bitty one. And it's not has the poorest taste. But it makes for a very attractive tree. It's the smallest of the three. More like a Marumi size. So that can be good for certain people. Easier to protect that way. So you've got Augusta. This is Thomasville and Sinton, your two standards. And then also we'll pull Augusta back up here. And you've got Augusta Citrangequat. Augusta Citrangequat is more seedy. Thomasville is the least seedy. And Sinton is probably the most attractive tree. Now, all that in mind, I would say that Augusta is probably a good compromise between the two. The growth habit is more attractive than Thomasville, but at the same time, it is quite seedy. And Augusta ripens sooner than Thomasville, but Thomasville is probably the most cold hardy. Possibly of the three, I would say Sinton and Thomasville are probably equally pretty cold hardy. Augusta being slightly less cold hardy. But of the three, if I had to pick one purely based on flavor, this Augusta is probably the sweeter of the three. Thomasville has probably more versatile. You could cook with it, flavor drinks with it more so. So there's those benefits. And Sinton, probably the less desirable of the three Citrangequats. So that's the three Citrangequats. If I had to pick mine, I would say Augusta's probably my favorite. But Thomasville also has that lime taste that you just do not get from Augusta. So we'll look at these two as well. This is Marumi and Nagami. These two are kumquats that you can cross-pollinate with and get mandarin quats. Or you can cross-pollinate them with the citrange and get a new Citrangequat. So potentially, we may have some more in the future. We've got other guys trying it. I'm hopefully this year I may have some blooms on some of my on my US 942, and I'm going to try to cross pollinate that one. I've also got a Monticello citramella, and it should be coming into flower in the next few years, and hopefully I'll try to pollinate that with my Nagami as well. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and just look at kind of these two fruits, just since we got them here. I like to cut the Nagami kind of long ways like this, just because it makes it for a better combination of skin to flesh, skin to juice ratio. So I cut it in quarters like this. Oop, I think I'm hitting a seed. I'd rather not. Let's see if we can get to it this direction. Let's just cut this one. Sweet, good juice on this one. Nagami is very good. But I would say Augusta is quite comparable when it comes to the skin itself. Augusta's skin is more like Nagami than the other three, which is a good thing. But Augusta probably has a slightly more trifoliate flavor in there, but it's slight. It's definitely slight. Oh, we did have a seed, a little seed. Excellent little fruit. All right, so we'll cut into Marumi. And I don't know how these are going to be, but I thought I'd cut into it just so you could kind of see the interior here. And that Nagami, my Nagami has not produced very many seeds, and it is one I got from Madison Citrus. But Marumi, on the other hand, can be quite seedy, and it is 3 seeds in this tiny fruit. Kind of is to its detriment. You'll see that's Marumi, little bitty fruit. And it's got more of a piney, like a juniper berry flavor to it in the skin. The flesh is, the interior of it is a lot like a Nagami interior, but the skin is a little tougher, a good bit tougher, and has a bit of it like a juniper berry flavor to it. So that's Marumi. Still really good taste though. So Marumi is seedy and it's small, probably a little, but it is by far the most cold-hardy kumquat. Probably good to 10 degrees, where Nagami is probably good to like 17 degrees. So Nagami is really not all that cold-hardy. More cold-hardy than some citrus for sure, but Marumi takes the cake on that one. So there's a lot of potential for breeding some new Citrangequats from Marumi in particular. I believe Sinton is a Marumi cross with I don't remember now, maybe some type of blood orange. I think it might be crossed with Rusk and Marumi. And you got Sinton. So Sinton is good. I think it's probably, that being said, it's probably theoretically more cold hardy than Thomasville or Augusta. But I don't think people generally have reported that, other than the fact it's about equal to Thomasville, and Augusta being the least cold hardy of the three Citrangequats. Now, Nagami, by far the best of the two kumquats, but there are some other good kumquats that are equally as hardy as Nagami, like Fukushu. There's a bunch of kumquats. Go ahead and cut another one. Let's go ahead and eat it while we're here. Ooh. Kick the seed out. Now, yeah, Nagami does have seeds, but not as bad as Sinton. Yeah, it's very good. Now, I'm going to cut back over here to Augusta just to give it another test after eating Nagami. Let's cut this side. Yeah, there's something to be said for Augusta. Really good fruit. It is more tart, but I kind of like the tart. It's, it packs a punch. It's got something interesting going on there. Where your typical mandarins you might get at the grocery store, they can be kind of boring at the end of the day. So yeah, we got Augusta, Thomasville, Sinton. The top three Citrangequats are the most popular, at least, and then Marumi and Nagami, two of the potential breeders of new Citrangequat hybrids. All right, guys, that's the review for today. Thanks for tuning in.